All right, guys, so night two of the 2024 NFL Draft just concluded for the Green Bay Packers, where they made four selections, did a little bit of a trade in the second round, which I thought was awesome value, which we'll get into, but they still ended up picking four times, the same amount of picks that they had heading into night two. So in today's video, I'm here to break down and give my instant thoughts and reactions to all four picks made day two, rounds 2 and 3 for the Green Bay Packers. So we saw yesterday the Packers stay put at 25 and select guard slash tackle Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, and this was the pick that I thought was going to happen. In my last official mock draft, the Brian Gutekunst mock draft, where I tried to guess what Brian Gutekunst would do. And surprisingly, I nailed it with Jordan Morgan. And then going into round two, a lot of people wanted the Packers to trade up for a cornerback for either Cooper DeJean or Kool-Aid McKinstry, who were still sitting there at the start of the second round. Now, the Eagles leapfrogged the Green Bay Packers, just like the Lions did, and selected a cornerback, Cooper DeJean, at pick 40. Then at pick 41, the Packers traded down to pick 45, whilst picking up 168, a fifth-round pick, and 190, a sixth-round pick, moving down only 4 spots there. I think that is tremendous value, adding on to the fact that they still got their guy, and my second pick, my second guess as well in the Gutekunst mock, linebacker Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. So I actually went 2 for 2 on the first 2 picks, and I'm actually pretty proud of that because I tried my hardest to really think what the Packers were going to do, what Brian Gutekunst was going to do. And I hit the nail right on the head there with both Jordan Morgan and Edgerrin Cooper. So first, let's dive down into Edgerrin Cooper, and I have a video on my channel breaking down some of his tape and why he'd be a perfect fit in Green Bay. And what do you know? Now on draft night 2, we're talking about Edgerrin Cooper being drafted by the Green Bay Packers. Some things just make too much sense, and they just happen. Edgerrin Cooper, of course, linebacker out of Texas A&M. I'm not going to dive too much into him because if you want to go watch that film breakdown, that gives you a deeper dive. But I've been mocking this guy to the Green Bay Packers for months now, and it just made a lot of sense. 6'3", 230, 22 years old, 90.0 PFF grade last year, one of the better linebackers when it comes to PFF grades, 58 tackles, 11 missed. He had a great pass rush grade. He can get after the passer. Run defense grade, 87.6. Coverage grade, 85.5. Missed tackle rate, a little bit below average at 12.8%. He did allow 14 receptions on 16 targets, but a lot of time it was a flat route to a running back or a quick out route or stick concept to a tight end where, you know, Edgerrin Cooper was in the area and yeah, it's gained 2 yards or whatever. It wasn't anything bad. He also had 37 run stops, which is tied for 29th in the country for all of college football. And Edgerrin Cooper makes so much sense. And although, you know, I've said this so many times that he is going to be a weak side backer, and a lot of people see Quay Walker as that, them drafting him just solidifies that. I think they see Quay as a Mike. And they also drafted another linebacker tonight in round 3, which we'll obviously get into, which is a little bit of a surprise to me, but it makes sense as well. But Edgerrin Cooper, weak side backer, I love the thought of both him and Quay Walker just roaming around the backside of that defense. We moved to a 4-3. We need more off-ball linebackers. Sure, we're not going to play base a lot. We're going to be more nickel. But I said it in my live reaction. The thought of a 4-2 front, say a 3rd and 7, 2nd and 12, whatever it may be, where it's like, okay, it's going to be a passing down, and just having Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker roaming back there, that's going to be awesome for this Jeff Hafley defense. Whether they're bringing pressure from one of them or both of them, say like a double A-gap concept, or they're dropping both of them back to cover up the middle of the field, some tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, whatever it may be. Both of these guys are so versatile. Both of these guys can go sideline to sideline and are extreme athletes, and I love pairing Edgerrin Cooper up with Quay Walker, and that's exactly why I wanted him in the second round. And I thought the Packers were going to draft him at 41. They traded back, picked up a 5th and a 6th, and still got Edgerrin Cooper. That's a massive win for the Packers and Brian Gutekunst. We see his RAS at 9.13, 4.51 elite speed. This guy is fast. 6'2", 230 pounds, 34-inch vertical, 9'10" broad jump, and good agility. And if you look at the comparison of RAS, you know, Quay Walker 9.67, Edgerrin Cooper 9.13, Quay Walker a 4.5 240, Edgerrin Cooper a 4.5 140. I just love the thought of both of these guys back there at linebacker. We needed linebacker help. We needed linebacker depth. clearly, because we got another one as well in the third. Then for the second player picked in the second round at pick 58, the Packers pick the second safety all on the board after Tyler Nubin went to the New York Giants in Javon Bullard out of Georgia. Now, he's someone I actually mocked to the Green Bay Packers a couple times earlier in the draft process and kind of went off of him, but not because I didn't like him. I just thought the Packers maybe wanted to add a box safety, but clearly they like what they saw in Javon Bullard, and I love this pick as well. I think the Packers nailed the second round. 5'11", 195, still 21 years old. He's a Georgia Bulldog defender, right? The Packers love those guys. And Javon Bullard, man, is a physical, hard-hitting type of safety, even though he's not the biggest. 5'11", 195, he plays a lot bigger than that. Last year, man, an 88.4 coverage grade, one of the best coverage safeties in college football. A forced incompletion rate of 26.9%, low missed tackle rate of 10.8%. We see an 82.8 grade last year, an 80.4 grade the year before that. He had 45 tackles this year, 39 tackles the year before, and only 12 missed tackles the last 2 seasons combined. This guy is one of the most sure tacklers, and the beauty of Javon Bullard is he can either play deep next to Xavier McKinney in a 2-deep look, or he can come down and play the nickel. The Packers got their safety/nickel defender. A lot of comparisons to Brian Branch here, selected right around the same area kind of in the second round. It makes a lot of sense, and if they can get what the Lions got out of Brian Branch with Javon Bullard, man, this Packers defense is scary. We see the year before that in 2022 where he was just as good, 510 snaps in the slot. Javon Bullard, so versatile, deep safety, slot defender, 8 coverage stops, 5 run stops, a 34 passer rating allowed, 14 receptions on 26 targets, had 2 interceptions so the guy can go up and get the ball as well, and 7 forced incompletion. And of course, he's an athlete, an 8.25 RAS would probably be in the 9s if he wasn't 5'10", 198, and we can see that's poor size grade and under RAS, but still 16 bench reps, elite speed. And this is rare for safeties nowadays to have this type of speed. We're so used to seeing safeties now in the 4.5s, even the 4.6s. Javon Bullard, a 4.47 out of safety. This guy flies around the field. He's a ball hawk. He's a big hitter. You can put him in the slot. You can put him deep. A great shuttle, 10-yard split, 20-yard split. Not the greatest vertical at 33, but, that's fine. I love this pick of Javon Bullard. Pairing him up with Xavier McKinney, man, both pairing Edgerrin Cooper with Quay Walker and Javon Bullard with Xavier McKinney, I just think that was a perfect second-round double selection for the Green Bay Packers. When this was happening, this pick was happening, I thought Cole Bishop, because, again, I thought they wanted a box guy. But when you look at it and you look at production and what a player has actually done and are they pro-ready, Javon Bullard is that, and the Packers kind of need that at safety. They're not just going to go single high every snap. They're going to run double safeties, 2 deep, and then also want a guy in the nickel, potentially, if, Keyshawn Nixon doesn't play up to par, or let alone just have Javon Bullard roam around the field. And he's so good at that. I love this pick as well. Then in the third round, the Packers had 2 picks, of course, at 88 and 91. And at 88, I believe they were probably pretty shocked that the Dallas Cowboys didn't go Marshon Lloyd. A lot of people's running back 1 in this draft class goes all the way at 88 to the Green Bay Packers. And I was really wondering when they would go running back. I thought maybe 3rd to 4th round would be the pick and someone like Ray Davis, Jalen Wright. But Marshon Lloyd, I liked better than Jalen Wright. I liked both of them a lot. But Marshon Lloyd is a tough runner. Shout out Wilmington, Delaware. He's actually grew up about 15, 20 minutes away from me. So I really love this pick, but there's also some bias there as well. 5'9", 210. The bottom line, it says Lloyd is a starting caliber athlete. If he can improve his vision and to see space before it opens up, he can be an impact starter. We see his stats last season, 816 yards, 7.1 yards per attempt, 9 touchdowns. Also is utilized in the receiving game. I think he only had 1 drop last year. 13 receptions, 232 yards. Yes, 1 drop. You see at the bottom here. We see yards after contact, 457. So over half of his yards were after contact. 47 missed tackles forced on 115 attempts is crazy as well. Carries of 15 plus, 18 there. Great elusive rating of 177.0 there. Yards after contact per attempt, 3.97, an 87.2 rushing grade. And looking at his RAS, wow, you guessed it, another athlete. 8.62 Marshon Lloyd out of USC, ran a 4.46 at 5'8", almost 5'9", 220. This guy is very intriguing and has a lot of potential, 25 bench reps as well. Now, there are some fumble issues with Marshon Lloyd. That definitely has to get cleaned up, but the beauty of this pick as well is he doesn't have to start right away. While I think he could, he's still only 23 years old. Obviously, the Packers brought in Josh Jacobs. Like, that's running back number one. They have A.J. Dillon on this weird contract that has no guarantees, and the Packers have no risk. If the Packers don't like what they see with A.J. Dillon, they can simply roll with Marshon Lloyd as running back 2, or they could have a three-headed backfield with Josh Jacobs, A.J. Dillon, and Marshon Lloyd. And the beauty of this is, like I said, 23 years old. Josh Jacobs is 26. He'll likely be here for 2 to 3 years. At that point, maybe you already have a two-headed monster with Josh Jacobs and Marshon Lloyd. I doubt A.J. Dillon stays past this year, if at all. After this draft selection in the third round, right? Like, you don't draft a third-round running back to be your third running back, right? But they kind of did something similar when they drafted A.J. Dillon. The Packers, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, same situation. They keep doing the same things because it works. It's like a rotation at running back, get fresh young guys in. It's sad to see Aaron Jones leave, but I'm really excited about this backfield of Josh Jacobs and Marshon Lloyd and potentially also A.J. Dillon. Then with the final pick in the third round at pick 91, definitely a head scratcher for me, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And they go Tyron Hopper, linebacker out of Missouri. It was only a head scratcher for me because we saw Peyton Wilson dropping. Ended up going to the Steelers a few picks later, so that's going to be something we're probably going to monitor for a very long time. But you also had the likes of Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Cedric Gray on the board. We already saw Trevin Wallace go, and honestly, I think if Trevin Wallace was available, that would be their pick over Tyron Hopper. But they met with both of those guys. They met with Tyron Hopper. He was a player I saw potentially going to Green Bay. I thought it would be later. I really thought it would be later. But again, this circles back to my Jordan Morgan argument. Our draft boards are not the same as NFL GMs. Whatever we see on a website such as PFF, it's made by analysts, fans, or both, right? So clearly the Packers had Tyron Hopper very high on their draft board to select him over the likes of Peyton Wilson, who was likely off their draft board completely due to the injuries. Jeremiah Trotter, maybe off their draft board due to size. And Cedric Gray, maybe just not their type of backer. They didn't want to add another weak side because they got Edgerrin Cooper. Whereas Tyron Hopper, I think, is a prototypical Mike linebacker at the NFL level, playing in the SEC. Had a down 2023, if we're being honest. We're looking at just the stats. I can't wait to dive down into his film because I really want to see what type of player he is. I had a similar reaction where I was confused when the Packers selected Jayden Reed. Then I watched his film and I was like, wow, okay, I should have not been confused. So I'm hoping that's the same thing here with Tyron Hopper. 51.5 PFF grade this year. Not great. 45 tackles, 17 missed. Again, not great. A 22.7 missed tackle rate percentage. Not good at all. I think it's one of the lowest in terms of linebackers. When I did my linebacker video, I think it was the lowest. And the lowest coverage grade at 39.6. Pass rush grade above average. Run defense grade average. 9 coverage stops, 20 run stops. He allowed 21 receptions on 30 targets, 70% completion percentage. He allowed 1 touchdown. Now, I saw a stat. In the past 3 seasons, his coverage snaps, so 252 this year, 302 last year, and 241 the year before that. He's only allowed that 1 touchdown. So although his coverage grade this year not great via PFF, okay, we understand that PFF isn't the end all be all, but just by the plain old stats, he's only allowed 1 touchdown in over 850 coverage snaps as a linebacker in his college career. Looking at his summary here, despite his less impressive measurables, Hopper is a good athlete with potential as a coverage defender and pass rusher. His play speed is a pro and con for him. If he can be more appropriate about when to turn on the jets and when to be patient, he could be a contributed linebacker and a special team standout. 6'2", 221, 23 years old. Let's go over to his RAS. The lowest RAS the Packers drafted, I think so far in the draft, 7.42. 6'1", almost 6'2", 231 pounds. Not the heaviest linebacker, not the fastest. 4.68, good 20-yard split, poor agility grade, great explosion. 36-inch vertical, 10'4" broad jump. But where I think Tyron Hopper is good, rather than just looking at his RAS, just looking at the stats, is a traditional Mike linebacker. The IQ, the work ethic, the drive, right? Every play, full 100%. I think Tyron Hopper is that, just by the little bit of research I've done on him so far. Again, these are my instant thoughts and reactions. I'm definitely going to do a much, much deeper dive on Tyron Hopper. I'm very excited to do so. So while this pick did confuse me a little bit, I still understand it. The Packers needed to add depth and skill into the linebacker room. Before tonight, it was Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, Eric Wilson, and Christian Welch. Eric Wilson, primarily a special teamer, now likely will remain as just that. Now we have Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie as the starters and a base defense. Tyron Hopper as a depth guy, a core special teamer, and a potential starter in the future, depending how Isaiah McDuffie goes, I think the Packers see Quay Walker maybe as the starting Mike to start the season, Isaiah strong or vice versa, and Edgerrin Cooper weak side. But I think Tyron Hopper's future is at the Mike for the Packers at linebacker, which is intriguing. It definitely is. The Packers needed to bring in a guy like this. There wasn't many Mikes in this draft class, Colston being one of them. He was already gone, obviously. So I was definitely a little confused just based on the position. Like, again, our draft boards are different. So yeah, sure, I thought Tyron Hopper could go in the 5th to 6th round, maybe even 7th, but clearly that wasn't the case. I think he's a lot higher on some people's boards, clearly the Green Bay Packers. And again, we could see why. It just seems like their type of player adding to that defense. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I think it's a great day 2 for the Green Bay Packers. They came in with 4 picks. They left with 4 players and 2 additional picks and got 2 instant starters in Edgerrin Cooper and Javon Bullard on that defense, that new Jeff Hafley defense. 2 great athletes, 2 versatile guys, 2 guys that are going to be like really good ball players on that defense, and then 2 good depth guys. You get a depth running back, maybe a future at starter. You get a depth linebacker, maybe a future at starting at Mike. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I think the Packers have like 8 picks tomorrow. Man, we have so many picks tomorrow as well to go over. But day 2, in my opinion, a massive success. But I appreciate you guys coming by. Please leave a like down below if you do support the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.